Hey YouTube and Instagram, welcome to my live and welcome back to part 2. As you know, I'm a mega church cult survivor of 18 years and I thought I was doing up church and it turned out to be a whole cult. Since then, I've been exposing them online and advocating not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of other survivors. As you know, I'm on my TikTok live at the same damn time. I have to restart the live every so often just to protect the space, but also to ensure that I've got the recording because there's a lot that goes into, the research and also just whatever the vibe is and making sure that all of the information that we're discussing is being shared. So yeah, let's kick off. What I want to do is I want to just give a quick recap on what I've been talking about. RPF is a cult that I've had my eye on. I've had several survivors come forward this week. So, and then this, I can't even remember what it's called, this conference that she does. Thank you, Danae. This conference that she does up, this women's conference came up on my FYP and I just felt like it was a sign. So I'm going to be digging a little bit deeper into RPF and trying to encourage survivors to come forward because I know it is hard. And I know a lot of them have suffered from psychosis and just a mental health decline after coming out because it's very hyper religious. Everything is the DEVIL in there, honestly. There's heavy duty, fair based programming. Please like up the live, guys. They're trying to get me off tonight. All right. So what I discussed in the other live that I just did. And guys, please subscribe to my YouTube, Leah Lauder 777 on TikTok. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. All right, let's get into it. So why do they do up head coverings from a cult psycho-ed perspective? Symbol of submission, biblical obedience, and reference to 1 Corinthians 11:5-6. Then we spoke about uniformity and identity control. Members being stripped of individuality, uniformity, clothing regulations. We spoke about mystical manipulation and the attachment of spiritual significance to external symbols, and also the outward appearance is them looking almost like Hebrew Israelites, something out of the biblical days. So we are seeing that here. All right. Then we spoke about control of women's sexuality. And then now we're moving on to the GROOM environment. Okay. So by normalizing strict rules over women's dress, the cult leader conditions the group to accept his ownership of the women's bodies. Please do like the live. If anybody's requesting live, can you please put what it is that you want to say in the chat first? Thank you very much. My energy is expensive and I practice spiritual hygiene, so I do protect my energy. All right. I'm not a spiritual 304. So I just don't let anyone into my energy, unfortunately. All right, sweetie. I understand spirituality. I'm extremely intelligent, versed in many sacred texts. And when I do see those universal laws across all these sacred texts, I do, I do conform to that because that is wisdom. All right, my loves. Okay. So these strict rules over women's dress codes and what they can wear, etc. This is the cult leader conditioning the group to accept his ownership of the women's bodies, appearance, etc. So it's ownership there. Remember, I said to you in these church cults, they love ownership. Especially what you'll find is if there's an elitist group in there, women that are close to her, you'll see that there'll be more behind the scenes. There'll be greater expectation on them. They'll be trusted with more information behind the scenes. They'll get treated differently, etc. Okay, so in this case, Pastor Austin has actually GROOM'd, got engaged to Michelin at 19, allegedly. That's what word on the street is. Because people went to the same primary school as her. That's how young she is outside in these streets. Okay. So when people were coming to the setting and seeing her, they were like shocked. Because, it's just like a little ends church cult. Do you get what I'm saying? Chair. I'm trying to keep this live on chair. So it doesn't appear shocking to the insiders because remember, this is how they've been programmed. It's an echo chamber in there. Guys, please like up the live. And everybody's thinking, talking, speaking, acting like the cult leader. So that behavior has been normalized. Okay. They're not thinking about abuse of position of power or the fact that he's in a trusted position and he's abused that. He's taken advantage of her vulnerability. Thanks for the follow, baby. She also didn't have a mother raising her. Word on the street is allegedly that the mum passed when she was a baby. So she's been raised by her auntie. Thanks for the follow. So there's also that insecure attachment. I've done a video on it. It's on YouTube. So again, it's like that warped kind of dynamic of relationship, because she was looking at Austin like her spiritual daddy, and then all of a sudden they're getting married. So it's like that father-daughter dynamic psychologically. And then, do you know what I mean? It's not right, y'all. But anyway, let God be the judge in it. I'm just here to discuss it from a psychoanalytical lens, which I am qualified to do. Yeah. All right. The groundwork has already been laid. Women are already set apart, obedient, and stripped of autonomy. So again, it's the echo chamber. They're all thinking, acting the same. They're in cognitive dissonance. So the thought blockers are going to come on when anyone says anything that's contrary to the cult leader. If the cult leader's marrying a member, the cult leader's marrying a member. This is God. This is God that has taken like this ordinary girl and raised her up, and he's so humble. He's so humble because he's married like this small girl from the church. There's a lot of mystical manipulation, yeah. Head covering signal purity and submission, which reinforces his access to younger indoctrinated women. I'm not saying in a um a schmegschel way or anything like that, because I want to explicitly say I haven't had anyone come forward and give accounts of that. All we've got is that he's done up this with the wife. Okay. Psychological dependence. So every time a woman ties that scarf, she is psychologically reinforcing the cult's ideology. It becomes an anchor ritual, a small but constant behavior that rewires the brain to link loyalty, safety, and salvation to the cult leader's rules. This is deep, share. So let's look at the big picture and the summary of this. The head coverings are not just about the high control group. They are a visible badge of control, submission, and indoctrination. They create a culture where women are kept subordinate, stripped of individuality, and primed for exploitation, including the leaders, GROMN and ABUSE of power, okay, which we've seen in him taking advantage of his trusted position to marry a member and get engaged to her at 19, allegedly. Apparently now she's like 27, no older than 28. He's 10 years older than her. That there are people that were attending the church cult and people that know her, that went to primary school and college with her, and are saying, I definitely, this is the age she is, chair. But again, y'all know it's allegedly, baby. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just gonna be allegedly, and what y'all know this is just the streets that be talking, man. And if you from the hood, man, then you know what wrong. You know what I'm saying, man? So it's up to you what you want to say. But I'm gonna tell you what these streets are saying, child. What's these streets saying? The streets is talking, man. All right, you lot. So what I wanted to do, right, is because they always come with like this heavy loaded jargon around scriptures and whatever. So let's look at the verses most commonly used, because you know me, I like to fact check, man. I'm not just gonna come with one-sided argument. I was in the mega church cult for 18 years. So let's look at some scripture that is commonly used for the head covering doctrine. And it comes almost entirely from 1 Corinthians 11:3-16, not Colossians, because I said to ChatGPT, it's either Colossians or Corinthians, so it's corrected me. The key verses here are 1 Corinthians 11:3, but I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ, the head of a wife is her husband, and the head of Christ is God. Then we've got 1 Corinthians 11:5-6. Every woman who prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head. I want to key in here. This is a very, there's a lot of mystical manipulation through fake prophecy. And I wish I'd read this before with the video. I'll do a follow up, because she was talking a lot about, you want to be a wog, you want to be a prophetess, you want to hold conventions and have people listening to you. You've got to pay the price for all of this. So that's how they can tie in the ABUSE, the coercive control, the gaslighting, all of that. It comes through the mystical manipulation and twisting of the verses. And then that's the culture in the house. People want to feel accepted. It's when you look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, that's one of the basic necessities of just human existence. You know that saying that no man is no island, and it's true. Everybody needs someone. All right. For if a woman will not cover her head, then she should cut her hair short. But since it is disgraceful for a woman to have her hair cut or shaved off, she should cover her head. So that's the main one that I would believe that they would be doing up in their chair. That's the main one, chair. Can you see every time I go so deep, they start to restrict it? Minakir. Minakir, baby. Minakir. So that's what they're definitely doing up in there. That's a confirmation. And do you know why I felt like it was that one? Because it's got that authority, it's got that fear. I can see how they'll be doing up the fear-based programming, because you've got to remember each cult is different, but it's the same characteristics. So it's the same blueprint, and that's how I'm able to psychoanalyze them, because they're doing up the same thing. The only thing that survivors help me to do is understand the culture, because once I get the culture, the jargon, etc., then I can get it. But because the first lady is very uneducated, I was able to pick it up from watching on her for about 10 minutes. Yeah. But that's the thing. That's why a lot of cult experts, they've survived cults. Do you know what I mean? Because it's very secretive in there. You've got to be able to see the very subtle tactics. Woo! Guys, where's my water, man? What happened to my water, man? How is everyone feeling? Are you lot feeling the topic and the live? They do just come in swarms to just report it. So that's why, like, I don't get excited by numbers and all that. Because, you know, like, all of that's an illusion. It's about the people that are really here to, like, listen and deprogram and deconstruct. That's what really matters. All right. So you can see they're going to internalize it like it's disgraceful. And you can imagine being in these hyper-religious environments. The deeper they get in there, the more they're in that cognitive dissonant state, like offline, like going to more meetings, hanging around with everyone in there, going to all they do a lot of 24-hour prayer and stuff. And, you know, that's all, like, that's mind-altered practices, that's trance-like states, it's a lot. The brain is getting rewired, you know, so you're becoming like hyper religious. That's what leads to a lot of spiritual psychosis. Oh my gosh, my bed feels so comfortable, y'all. Oh, isn't this a nice way to just spend the bank holiday weekend, yeah? I know they must have been working themselves like Pomeranians this week, yeah. All right, but bank holidays are all about rest and relaxation, yeah. 1 Corinthians 11:10. That is why a wife ought to have a symbol of authority on her head, because of the angels. All right. You need to remember with cults as well, it's very black and white thinking, dogmatic thinking. So they're going to take these things literally. All right. So they're going to be like I would imagine that if not most, or if not all of the wives in this cult would be doing up the head coverings. Do you know what I'm saying? Especially the ones that are embedded. That makes sense as to why she wears this like religiously. It makes sense now, because you see how the normal people, they're gonna interpret this at all different levels. The ones that aren't ready are gonna be like, we can wear it if we want. Yeah, because you're still getting your back blown out, babe, or you're still listening to worldly music, or you're still, you know what I mean? Like, there's one foot in the cult and one foot in the world. The people who are embedded in it, in praise and worship, in choir, whatever, they're all wearing their head coverings. That's on everything. Because they all want to get married in there, babe. No man is going to take any woman as a serious candidate if she ain't got on that head tie. And if they want to come on here and discredit that, they're not going to. But I'm just saying, they can't. Because they know that's what's going on in there. Like, the survivors have told me. 1 Corinthians 11:15. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm gonna keep it a buck. If I hadn't have like deprogrammed and deconstructed, this would have been where I would have church cult hopped. This would have been where I would have church cult. Definitely here. Do you know what I mean? Because of like where I was at. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's hyper religious. I can just go there, like just wrap myself in my own little world, and, you know, just be in the word like 24 hours a day, like just escape totally from reality and come in with my head scott. I like all of that. It feels more spiritual, you know, like when I've got on my head ties and that, it feels very spiritual. It feels like, you know, I'm doing this for God, and it's this special thing between me and God. Like, that's how the head coverings, there's a lot of spiritual significance to it. But if you're not using it in the right way, it has no significance and no protection, no spiritual covering whatsoever. Yeah. So again, this is what I say when I mean like they have no power, because I know they haven't got any power, because Austin's in there calling me a witch. So clearly he doesn't know who I be outside in these streets. For lack of knowledge, my people perish. All right. Licia, thanks for liking up the live, girl. I see you. Please like the live, guys. All right. Some cult leaders will also reach for Colossians 3:18. Wives, submit yourself to your husbands as it is fitting in the Lord, to reinforce submission, but the head covering doctrine itself is straight from 1 Corinthians 11. But they might cross-reference it with this one at certain times. All right. So now we're going to look at how a cult leader twists this into control. So here's the breakdown of cult tactics and mystical manipulation. So we're kicking off with authority framing, and this is the bite model, thought control. He quotes, the head of the woman is man, 1 Corinthians 11:3. So to establish a divine hierarchy, God, Christ, pastor, husband, woman, this convinces women that their spiritual safety depends on submission to men and ultimately him. So again, it's the canon is a patriarchal lens. So it's like Father, Son, and then Holy Spirit is genderless. Then we've got like, the 12 disciples. So that mystical manipulation in the very fabrics of the text that they're using is also problematic. Okay, so this is women internalizing misogyny to believe that they need a man to be their covering, to be their head. So that's why we get her saying things like a woman is like a FOOL, to believe that she is higher than a man. It's all of that. That's why matriarchy needs to come in, because this is just too much now. Do you know what I mean? It's gone way too far. That's why the men are the way that they are, chair. All right. Fear of spiritual consequences, mystical manipulation. So he will stress because of the angels. So this is a possibility. This is hypothetically speaking. And you've got to remember, mystical manipulation is very like airy fairy, like smoke and mirrors. Like they go a lot into dreams. So these type of hyper religious environments will talk a lot about dreams. There will be a lot of like wanting to like interpretation of dreams. And because they're opening them up to that realm and that spiritual ritualistic practice, and they're programming them. And again, it's the fear-based programming. I'd imagine there's a lot of like sleep paralysis going on there, a lot of like paranoia. They'll be because the even like the mind altered states in the forms of like the tongues and the praying, like really heavy duty hyper religious practices that they've got in there. I could imagine that a lot of people are struggling with their mental health, or they come in with mental health issues and then at some point just lose their minds completely. And I know that's been happening. All right. But it's just too much now. There's too many synchronicities for me to like ignore. So this is why I'm just saying what I see, chair, with the little that I know. All right. So this is twisting and manipulation of scriptures. There's a twisted meaning. Uncovered women invite demonic attacks, curses, or shame on the community. This creates fear-based compliance. Women wear the scarf not out of faith, but out of fear of invisible punishment. Do you know what? That's a really interesting perspective, because her whole sermon was just the devil, this, dreams, demon, like fear, a lot of fear-based. Like people must be so paranoid and they're like really on the edge. Like it must be real fight or flight in there. And I could see that being fear-based compliance as well, like them feeling like it's a covering and that authority, shame and honor manipulation. So in 1 Corinthians 11:5, that we can highlight there that it says dishonors her head. So if we look at it from a cult psycho ed perspective, from an indoctrinated interpretation, it will go something like this. If you don't cover, you shame your husband, family, and God. This creates collective policing. Women enforce it on each other to avoid being labeled rebellious, shameful, or Jezebels. Okay? But the thing is, I wonder if the women that are falling, is their head still covered? You know, them ones. Chill. Purity and holiness narrative. I don't know, man. I feel like this is more for the men, including Austin. That's just my thoughts. Purity and holiness narrative. The head covering is framed as a badge of holiness. It will almost be like a culture of God can only use the pure covered vessels. Also, remember I said to you that, like, the serious candidates, like the men that are going to be like marriage material, the ones that all the girls are going to want to marry, they are going to be serious guys. And they're not going to marry a girl who's not covering her head, because don't you see it's a cult? Yeah! 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 These geezers, yeah, are just trying to marry the most severely indoctrinated ones, who are just going to be like Michelin and just do what they say. And yeah, chill. So this is a manipulation tactic that coerces women into believing the scarf equals closeness to God, when in reality, it equals closeness to the cult leader's control and manipulation. So identity stripping, this is behavior control, and please refer to Stephen Hassan's bite model for further reading around this. Head coverings are a uniform of submission under the behavior control strand of the bite model, which looks at how the cult leader asserts authoritarian control over his cult members, and that is through behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. So here we're looking at how the cult leader asserts this behavior control through the twisting, mystical manipulation of the verses to be able to control the members' behavior. By making women conform outwardly, he weakens individuality and inner resistance. This sets the stage for deeper exploitation, including grooming younger women, like the 19-year-old that he married. Okay? Please like up the live, guys. Mystical exclusivity. So things might be said like he might say a lot of things like, not every church has this revelation, but God gave it to us, his chosen people, things like that. They'll say, if you want to be a wog, you know, they're chosen, they're set apart, they're anointed. That's how they get you to do what they want. Do you know what I'm saying? It's all of this twisting and manipulation of scripture and GROMN. I think that, you know, Austin is like that. And they're so young. Like, how, like, this is like psychologist level. Like, they're doing up some, like, guys, this is judge. This level of psychology is judge, all right? This type of manipulation, coercive control, the power, the ego, you know, the ABUSE of power, position, control. It's all there. All right, so mystical exclusivity. And again, guys, this is why when you're on the street, you know, the main culprits. And also, I need to talk about Caris. I'm going to start talking about Caris tomorrow as well, because they have been in these streets. Like, so many survivors have been sending me videos saying that one survivor absolutely lost the plot, and it just turned into a big scene on the street. She was blinding, like saying, "Come out of it." It's just too much. They're just everywhere. They're just not getting the point. So I am going to do some content on that, just letting, like, the voice of the people, like this, how people be feeling, yeah. All right. So because it creates this environment of the women who are wearing the head coverings are closer to God, um, you know, creating this like special, almost like this special closeness or relationship that you have with God. Remember, spirituality can't be measured. So it's almost like they feel more spiritual, and they're trying to create that communal gaslighting. Do you know what I'm saying? Like creating that scene where everyone, like, this is a holy place. Like that's what I really believe. That's what I'm saying. That's why they do up a lot of musical, mystical manipulation. Like, this is the holy temple of God. I hear they moved. Is that building? Can anyone confirm if the building she did that convention at is their new building? I hope it's not Chair, because if it is, that is a downgrade. Because one thing I will say is that building that they had was just like a big space. Do you know what I mean? Where they could just do anything in there. And I've got to get the tea on that, Chair. I'm going to do a bit of investigative journalism. Yes, because I want to know, because I want to know what happened to RPF. I want to know, because my voice is crusty. I was able to hit it, you know, I wasn't sure. Yeah. All right. They also target. All right, so there's a question. If RPF is a youth cult, do they also target uni students like First Love? Yes, they have university campuses. Absolutely brilliant question. Why do I feel like you wanted me to highlight that? They have like quite a prominent one in Kent, the Kent University. Yeah, there's a lot going on in there. RPF, think I don't know nothing about them, just like Caris. Babes, I've been having RPF survivors for a year, but there's only one of me. What I do want to ask is, if you're on the FYP and you're an RPF survivor, please come forward. Because if you RPF survivors have me looking crazy outside in these streets, don't do that. Don't do that. And I know a lot of you lot are from South London, and you know I'm out here like a lot, like South London, especially the gal them. Like, you lot get a lot of, you know, like, you get me. And I've been repping it. I've been talking about my love for South London gal them. So you lot don't leave me out here. Like, South London gal them are some of the realists. You don't have to come out here and even say anything publicly. As I've said, a majority of the RPF survivors that have come forward, they've been anonymous. I haven't been able to share their story, but it's been enough to keep me, like, galvanize me to keep moving forward. I need to start getting messages from RPF survivors to keep talking about this, guys. You can't expect me to pluck content from thin air. It could be a cousin, it could be a sister, it could be a primary school friend. They've changed up, they've started going, now they've cut you off. That's enough, Chair. That's enough for me to start talking about why they do that, the isolation. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm getting led by y'all. I can't sit here and make this stuff up, you know. All right? But I understand that it's hard for survivors, and so does God. That's why this came up on my FYP. And there's also, like, I can't say too much, but God is definitely making a way, because I know this cult was revealed to me by God. That's another reason why I haven't let it go. And they think they're really hyper religious, but child, y'all better ask about me. Do you know what I mean, child? And I'm RADICAL with knowledge as well, because I like to read. All right. So yes, they set up uni campuses, and if you are affiliated or you start attending one of these spaces and they have uni cult campuses, just run, just leave, because that is like hyper religious. Like, you know that they're a cult, because when they're targeting university students, like, we know what their intention is. Like, they've made it really clear. Also, you know, the cult characteristics are isolation, us versus them, you know, and all of that. So, and ideally, they would love for the cult members all to live on a compound. Like, that's what the cult leader that would be like their perfect vision. My cult leader's got a compound, aka Anakazo Bible School. It's huge land that he's got in Ghana, right? So when they're on the university campus, it's easier for them to control, monitor, keep tabs on, ensure that they keep them in that self-sealing system, because a lot of the time they're all living on the same accommodation. How are people just supposed to get up and leave? Guys, I had students last year like crying to me. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm living with them. Like, really upset. My heart went out to them, man. I didn't even know what I was doing up. Tried to help them with contracts, news agents, Chair. What's it called? Estate agents and all that. It was a lot, Chair. All right. So, okay. So I'm going to give you this little summary, and then we're going to move on to hyper religiosity. Okay. And then Lisa, do you think I should restart the live, or is it all right? For YouTube, I'm not sure. I can't even ask YouTube because they're not on here. Love you. What do you think? All right, so let me finish this up. And anyone on the live can let me know what they think. All right, so do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to restart. I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to restart because it's easier for me to download. And I feel like that restriction was a bit of a sign. All right, so cult psychology at work, mystical manipulation. The leader makes the scarf about angels, demons, and holiness, loaded language, covering, modesty, submission, coded terms that hide misogyny under spirituality. So they cloak all of this misogyny with hyper religiosity, and then the men are just worshipped. Do you know what it's like when you're in there around all these mogs? It's like Andrew Tate on steroids. It just reeks of hyper masculinity, and all the women are just in there bowing down to the men, like serving them. Very stereotypical roles, a lot of gender inequality. We're in the kitchen preparing all the food, washing the dishes. We come in, we serve the men with the handkerchief. All the women are getting taught home life skills and culinary skills. All right, that's the only thing. There's no character development. There's nothing about going within. There's no self-love, no self-care. There's no, yeah. Oh, hey, Andrea, welcome back, my love. Behavior control by forcing women to change how they dress. The leader exerts direct control over their identity. Double bind. Women can never win. If they look too attractive, they're blamed for temptation. So that's where we get the Jezebel narrative, that rhetoric coming in. Okay. And then we get them branded. They're calling me a witch. I'm on here exposing people and they're still doing it up. Like that is how hyper religious they are in there. Do you know what? There's a word for RPF, like a cult psycho, because it's not hyper religious. It's more like radical than that. It's I just don't have the word. I've got to look for the word, Chair, and I will find it as I'm digging a bit deeper. There's loads to talk about with RPF, Chair, because now my attention is her. All right, so exposing it. When this is exposed and framed publicly, we are highlighting and looking at the fact that the scarf isn't about holiness. It's about policing women's appearance and bodies while excusing men's behavior. So survivors have come out and said that basically women are blamed for the male gaze. Like the accountability is all on the women. Okay. So I'm not just plucking this from thin air. It's a misogynistic system that strips women of autonomy, erases their beauty, and keeps them bound in shame. True accountability would teach men self-control, but cults thrive by shifting all responsibility onto women. I think it's so bad. And I've seen some of the women get married in there as well. So simple and basic, because I think I can see that Michelle's like that, because I think that she's really radical. So I think that they really take them scriptures about like women not adorning themselves in pearls and gold and things like that. I think they take them, because I think she got radical so young. She started attending at 18, 19, then the Mog has married her. So it's like the layer of hyper religiosity is going to be like something that we haven't seen before, because she was an ordinary member where he's the pred and he's abused his position of power by marrying her. So it's like she's thinking, oh, this is God. I'm so lucky, divine. She can't believe her luck. Like that's why she's described him as the perfect husband. And guys, I'm going to wind down with that. I'm going to take a 10-minute break because I am feeling like I can do the other part, but I want to come back. I want to take a 10-minute break, get a nice little beverage, and just come back and be really calm and finish up with the last section. And also I want to meditate on this and think about what else I want to talk about. So give me 10, 20 minutes, y'all. If you're up, come back and join me. I might not be on this account, but if I am changing accounts, then I will let you know and I will put a video up. All right, keep your notifications on. Faith, I'll be back. 20 minutes, Queen. Give me 20 minutes. I need a break, man. My mouth's dry. I want to go and make a hot drink and that. You know what I'm saying? All right, guys. YouTube. You're getting the TikTok live vibes. Bank holiday weekend. I'll be right back. Give me a